Hello, so today we are going to start our collage skill builders. And remember that collage is a French word that means pasted paper. So today we are going to start one of 4 collage skill builders. So the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to get a small white paper and you're going to fold it in half long ways, open it up, and fold it in half the other way, so that you get 4 rectangles. You're going to take your pencil and write your name on your paper and the day you have art. Day A, day B, day C, 3A, 3B, 3C. You're going to flip it over and we're going to do 4 different collage skill builders, and we probably won't do them all in one day. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to choose a background paper for your first skill builder. So I'm going to set this paper aside and I'm going to choose from one of these for my background. All right, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to explore paper punches. We're going to explore some scissors and regular scissors, of course, as well. This is going to be our background paper, so since this is a dark color, I'm going to choose some lighter colors to work with. And the first thing I want to talk about is these scissors. These scissors here, they show you on this one side of them what they cut. So they cut these funny edges, which are kind of fun. So I want you just to play around and practice with a few of these scissors. You don't have to use every single scissor that's there, but maybe cut one way and then flip your paper over and cut again the other way and see what happens. So this creates a scalloped line. Try a couple of different pair. And you don't need to cut these real thick. You don't need to cut them real long either. Just practicing with these scissors to kind of get the swing of them. You can do different colors if you want. I've chosen the easy route and just did one color. So if you turn your paper around, you can get different edges because the edge kind of flips around. So there's some of those that I'm just playing around with. Okay. Hole punches you've probably seen before. You put your paper underneath this little tongue that sticks out and squeeze. Now, if the paper doesn't punch all the way through and the holes are tearing, then you might want to try a different hole punch and let me know. And then we have these paper punches. These tend to be the things that my students break first, unfortunately. We used to have a bunch more of these shape punches, but my students have misused them and broken them, and we've had to throw them away. So there are 3 types of paper punches. There's one that has 2 squeezable handles. These are the easiest to use. There's one that has a push down tab, which is second easiest. And this one where you push down the button, and this one's probably the hardest to use. So what you do is on the side of each of these is a slit. And that's where the paper goes. So you're going to take the paper, put it in the slit. And I like to turn the paper punch upside down so I can see where the paper is. So if I had the paper halfway over, that wouldn't be good. Squeeze, like I said, these are the easiest. Squeeze the 2 handles, you get a nice shape cut out. For this one, it's this little tabby. So like again, I like to flip it over upside down, slide my paper in. So I'm sliding my paper into this slit right here. Flipping it over to see and make sure that I don't have like half of it empty. And then squeezing the tab. Okay. And then this one's the hardest one. I can't really sometimes hold it upside down and squeeze and push the button. So what I do is I push the paper into the slot right here. Flip it over, look and see where it's positioned, then flip it back on the table and push down with the palm of my hand to get that shape. And then I can put the paper back in there, push down again to get that shape. And you can see I didn't have it all the way into the paper, so it kind of cut something else out. Okay, so that's how you use the paper punches and the scissors. So I just want you to practice with these. Just try a few of them, wait your turn, don't argue over them, don't misuse them. We want them to be here for other people to use. And then you're going to use the glue to just glue these down onto your background paper. You can glue them down randomly. It doesn't matter. You're not making a picture. You're just gluing these down to show me that you have practiced using the scissors and the hole punches and the paper punches. Please remember that when you are opening glue, you use your thumbnail to pick the dry glue off the tip first. Then you twist the orange cap, flip it over, put a line of glue, and glue it down. Okay, so once you have all the little pieces that you created from the paper punches, the hole punches, and the scissors, you're going to get that white paper back out that has your name and code on it, and you are going to glue this to one of the 4 edges of the white paper. So I'm going to put a frame of glue, and I'm going to fit this into one of the spaces on my white paper. Another skill is going to be cut, glue, and draw. But it's kind of backwards. The problem with cut, glue, and draw is if you cut and glue, you have to wait for the glue to dry before you can draw. So sometimes what I like to do is cut and draw and then glue. Okay? So I'm going to go through and I need to choose a background paper first. So I'm going to choose this purple. And I'm just going to cut some shapes. You can cut anything you want. Anything you're interested in, any kind of shape. If you have an idea for an image that you want to create, I folded my paper in half to cut out a heart. Now I don't want you to make this too complicated. Just some simple shapes is good enough. Okay? Now, if I glue these shapes down, I really can't draw on them because the glue is wet and it will ruin whatever it is that I'm working on. So if I glue these and try to draw with pencil, it'll rip or make the paper bend or have an indentation. If I use marker, the glue will get on the marker and ruin the marker. So what I'm going to do is instead, I'm going to use a marker to draw first and then glue. So I cut, draw, then glue. And that's what I'd like you to do. Cut, draw, glue. You can draw whatever you want on the shapes that you cut out, but don't make it too detailed to where it takes forever. This is just practice. It doesn't need to be a masterpiece. Okay, then you're going to glue. Cut, draw, glue. And then you're going to put a frame of glue on the back and glue this onto another space of your white paper. Any of the 3 remaining spaces. So for the next collage skill builder that you're going to do, it's going to be fun with magazines, some practice with magazines. So you're going to choose a background paper, and you're going to get yourself some magazines, and you're going to create a picture using magazines in some way. What I like to do most with magazines is cut out different parts of different things and put them together, kind of Frankenstein them together. Or you could do a drawing and then you add some magazine things around the drawing or next to the drawing. So I'm going to look through the magazines and find some things that I want to use. And I think I'm going to try to mix and match some animal parts. So since I'm going to use this lizard, so I'm going to rip the page out. When you're using magazines, you're going to rip the whole page that you're going to cut from. You're not going to try to cut that part out and leave the scrap in the magazine, because then it's just kind of annoying. And what I'm going to do is cut out the parts that I'm going to kind of Frankenstein together. And then you'll just recycle these that you don't want anymore. Neatness matters, so cut as neatly as possible. All right, and the great thing about collage is if you want to put a hole in something, you don't have to like snip it or jab your scissors through, because that would be really unsafe. What you do is just cut straight into the area that you want to get rid of. Cut and remove that area. And then when you glue this down, you'll glue it down as if it's not even, that slit isn't there. And no one will know the difference. So I'm going to turn, and you can see that this is too big for the paper, but that's okay. I'm going to let it hang off a little bit. I think I'll do it maybe this way. So this is what I mean by Frankensteining, taking different parts and adding them on. Since these legs are too long for the background paper, I'm going to cut them off, and I'm going to find legs for something from something else. Okay, so now I can make this fit on the paper. All right, and so when you're working with collage, you always work back to front. So these are the ones, this is the part that's going to be behind everything else. So I'm gonna lift this up and glue this down first. Now magazine's a thin paper, so you don't wanna put a bunch of thick, gloopy glue underneath it, or then the magazine will kind of stay bumpy instead of lay flat. Okay, and so I put glue all over the back of this and made a bit of a mess. So if that happens to you, you can just use some scrap paper from your table to kind of clean that off so you don't get glue everywhere. And then the last thing is the head. All right, and then once you have your magazine fun finished, I'm going to trim this off. And then put a frame of glue. And so then we'll just glue this onto our base paper. And then I have another example of what you could do. You could draw something. So I drew my dog, and then I cut out different words from different magazines that describe her to put on there. So it doesn't have to be something where you Frankenstein it. You could use the words. And so then our last skill that we're going to do is create a landscape. So I am going to give you 4 papers for your landscape. Now remember, landscape's a picture of land. Now when we do collage, we work back to front. So the back goes down, and then the middle goes down, and then the front goes down. So the back of my landscape is going to be the sky. So this is my base paper. I don't get another base paper. It wouldn't make sense to choose this as my base and then glue down my sky. So I use the sky paper, and then I have green, brown, and green. 2 different greens. So you can decide what you want to make. Do you want to use the brown for mountains, Do you want to use the brown for tree trunks? What do you want to do? And then what are you going to use the green with? So I think I'm going to do some rolling hills for grass. And I still have this green left over that I can use for my landscape. So then there's my land. Notice I haven't glued it down yet. And then I'm going to create some trees. Now I want to show space with trees. So remember, showing space, you can overlap, so we're overlapping, but you can also do change of size. So if I do some evergreen trees, so I'll just do them real simple like triangles. So I need to cut out some triangles that are big, some triangles that are medium, and some triangles that are small, so that I can show space by putting the small ones up higher on my paper near the horizon line and others lower on my paper near the front. So here's a bunch of trees. So I want to arrange them, large ones near the bottom of the paper because they're closest to us. Then maybe some medium trees. And then some smaller ones higher up on the horizon line. Something like that. I could add little tree trunks. So I could cut a long strip of brown and I can add tree trunks that go underneath the trees. Maybe the ones closest to us and in the middle you would see the tree trunks, but the ones farther away you wouldn't see the tree trunks. All right, and then I'm gonna add some clouds, so I'll find some white scrap and add some clouds in the sky. I could add the sun or I couldn't add the moon because it's a blue sky. So do your best to use the scraps that are at your table to create your landscape so that we don't have to use up more paper. So here it is. I haven't glued anything down yet. And look, I have a ton of brown left, a ton of green left. Someone at my table could use that or the next class could use it. These little pieces here could be recycled because those really can't be used. So I would say like all of this would be recycled, but then this could be reused. And so now I'm going to take some time to glue this down and I'm going to glue back to front. So I'm going to glue the grass down first. There's my finished landscape. It's a bit gluey, but when the glue dries, it'll dry clear. I flip it over and put a frame of glue on the back and glue it onto my Collage Scale Builder page. It's okay that my landscape's going sideways. That's all right. It's just for practice. Here is another finished Collage Scale Builder to show you. So here's a landscape. Instead of green trees, orange trees, big thick tree trunk up front, smaller tree trunk in the back. We did some mountains. Here what I did was I drew on these square and rectangles, glued them down, let the glue dry. Then I drew again around here. So I can't draw around when the glue is wet. And then I Frankensteined this little person together, a head, a body, and some feet. So that's our Collage Skill Builders. And as we clean up each class, we'll put these on the drying rack to dry.